everybody, it's Cinnamon Cooney, your art Sherpa, and today I want to share with you my cherry tree. You guys have been asking me for something a little more adventurous with our Q-tip paintings, and so I created this fantasy fall just for you. It's a lot of fun, it's really easy. I'm going to explain it to you step by step so you can make this at home. Get your paint, get your Q-tips, come back at me with the easel right now. We're going to paint a cherry tree. I'm so excited to share this project with you today. Be sure and check the description below for more information about the materials, links, and exact specifications of what we're using. This is a 9x12 canvas board. It's pre-gessoed, ready to paint. Over here, I have acrylic paint set out for my painting. Now today I'm going to use phthalo green, phthalo blue, titanium white. This is a little bit of Mars black. This is a very bright pink and a magenta and a little more white that I put out here. I have already bunched my Q-tips together before I start painting, and I like to do them in a couple sizes of bunches to make it easier for me later. The other interesting tool I'm going to be using today, this is called a pallet knife. These are very inexpensive. You can also use a customer loyalty card. I've seen artists do that, and I think that's genius as well. I am ready to start painting this in. All right, let's go. Okay, so I'm going to take this diamond head palette knife and I'm going to come get a little of my blue and a little of my green and I'm going to smush them together. This is a little bit fun to watch, I think. People mix paint together. It's just real nice, and once I've done that, I'm going to wipe that off. I like to come over and clean my palette knives just on a towel. You don't really need to rinse them out in water. And I'm going to pick up, this is just a flat, inexpensive 1-inch brush for acrylic painting with synthetic filaments. That means this is not made of animal, this is made by man out of different plastics and things. So I'm dragging off the extra water. I'm going to kind of thin my heavy body paint a little bit so it flows off my brush nicely. And I'm going to add some white to it. Look how bright that is. It's so beautiful. Little dip in water to improve flow. And I'm going to just come across the top of my canvas. This is the darkest part of my sky. I am making flat, horizontal brush strokes just across the top of the canvas, back and forth, pressing in, just covering all the white. When I start to notice that I am, let me go fast, running out of paint, like right there, I'm going to come, I'll dip a little bit in the water, not getting it soaking, and I'm going to just add some white right here, which is going to lighten the color, and I'm going to come right here and just blend these two areas together, and then continue to paint down, and this is going to make this feel like this stunning, beautiful, clear day with one of those unforgettable skies. And we all have a few of those in our minds, don't we? Where we look into the sky and see such beauty. I'm going to come, get a little bit of water. You can see it's not like a crazy amount of water. It's not making a pond or a puddle, but it is allowing me to really load my brush up with paint. See how that's nice and loaded? And continue the same thing. Now this little band is lighter. And I'll just blend that together. When I'm blending, I just go over that area back and forth, softly, softly, softly. Yeah, that's just a good thing. All right. Just going. Come here. Again, same process. Little extra off. Let's get the rest of our white. Right? And just finish this whole painting off. Now, there's going to be a lot of black over this. But you know what? Acrylic paint sticks really well to acrylic paint. And this will make the whole rest of your painting be easier. So that's why we go ahead and just paint it to the bottom. Now the next step is to let this dry or to dry it with a hairdryer so we can take our image and transfer it onto the canvas. I'll meet you back when the canvas is dry. Okay, when your canvas is very dry, you can go ahead and make your transfer. I want you to print out the traceable, which is in the description below, onto a piece of paper. And then what I like to do is I take just a regular pencil and I do a rubbing all on the back where there's a line. Take tape, line up your drawing to your canvas. I like to tape it still because if it moves, that can mess up your transfer. So a couple pieces of tape just to make sure that we are secure in what we're doing. Now listen, if you are really good at freehanding a drawing, go ahead and do that. That's okay. This is just there just in case you're new to art and maybe drawing isn't your favorite skill yet. I want to say yet because I know you can do it soon. It's just one of those things that you learn when you're ready. All right, I'm going to trace over this. Okay, so once you have that lightly traced on, you don't want to make too dark of a mark because, you know, you want your paint to really pop over it, but you want to be able to see it so it's there for you as a guide. Go ahead and get your round detail acrylic brush. Let's get that. All right. Right here I have a number 4 round brush for acrylic. It has a nice point. It is made for acrylic paint, so it's not going to soak up too much water. Sometimes when brushes are made with beautiful, beautiful hair or fur, they can soak up water. I'm going to load a little white onto my brush, and I'm going to do, this is a little trick here, to help me be more successful in this kind of silhouette. I'm going to come along where I have lines, and just interestingly enough, sketch these in some white paint. And I'm going to do that so that when I put in my black silhouette, there's just the faintest little line of what I put in. That way I'm not getting lost. I can paint it out easily, but these are fun rocks and I worked hard to get them in and I wouldn't want to lose them since they're such a nice part of my painting. All right, let's put some here. Even have a little strip down there. Now rinse out your brush. And here's a fun thing. While it's still wet, because we want to make sure that we save your paint, get some of that dark sky color that you made, which was the phthalo blue and the phthalo green mixed together. And just come to where you sketched in your waterfalls. Make sure that this is a nice flat line. And just put this dark color right here. And for the fantasy fall where it begins here, just do this straight down. Here's the trick. Be as vertical as you can. If you go to the side, it will feel less like a waterfall. Waterfalls fall down. It's just a little trick that you can do. This is just a nice dark color that when you come back with your white paint to paint the fall is going to make them feel real nice. Now, I'm going to try to get right to the edge here. See how I'm making this level on top because water levels and falls down. Get it falling down. Oh, that's so nice. A little bit of falling happening. So that is a great thing that you can do to make all of this just a little bit easier. There we go. Okay, rinse out your brush. And let's put in the first part of our silhouette. So I'm going to get some paint just on the tip like this. I'm going to go ahead and put in my beautiful cherry tree. This cherry tree has so much personality and character. It's one of these ancient trees that sits on top of a hill where people go to think about all the important thoughts, right? It's really calm up here. You know, there's no cell service, so nobody can bug you. When you're on this hill, you're completely at peace. So I'm just following along. Remember that trees are thicker at the bottom and get thinner at the top, so that these little branches should be nice and delicate. And how I get a more delicate line is I don't press very hard with my brush. If I press down very hard, the line gets really thick. So I try to work just the tip of my brush. Almost like, you know, putting on eyeliner or just really any delicate task you think that you have to do. That's a lot about pressure, isn't it, through your hand. So just try to have as light of a hand as possible. But remember, this is an ancient tree, so it's okay if it has a lot of character. You don't have to at all be concerned about that. Trees need character. All right. Now, while this is all a little bit wet, I'm going to do an interesting thing. I'm going to come get a little white on the edge of my brush. And right into the black paint, I'm going to just create these little bark lines. Little rough lines that say this is an old tree. Let's do a knot right there. You get some white. I'm going to make little circles. There's a knot. Nice little ancient old tree. It's seen the world go by, isn't it? So once it has a knot of nice barky character, then I'm going to maybe rinse that out and go on with my black paint and just paint all of this in. I'm going to try to keep my little white line where I need it to be sure where things were. But I have a nice border with my waterfall, so I should be okay there. The reason I feel okay about this little white line is I'm going to come back with our palette knife and make craggy rocks. I'm going to show you a really great trick for craggy rocks. You can be surprised how easy it is to make wonderful old stones. In the same way, it's super easy to make wonderful old trees and waterfalls. I've been getting a lot of questions about the kinds of things we can do with Q-tips. There we go. Just pull that up there. Now, at the top of my hill, one thing I can do is put in grass. I like to put in soft, curved lines. They don't have the same length. They don't look like a crew top. And they like to blow in the wind. I use a very light stroke that gets lighter at the end of the finish of the stroke. And that lets me tell a fun little story about grass. So you can see I curve some of them to the left and then some to the right, and that makes it feel like maybe there's wind blowing there. Okay, so I'm going to come along here, come along, and then where I think I've made my little line, I'm just going to try to leave that here a little bit as a reminder for where I'm going to do my cool trick with a palette knife. If you don't have a palette knife, what you need is a stiff tool that you can scrape with, old credit cards or stiff board will work. A friend of mine came up with that and shared that with me, and I thought that was so clever. Very, very clever. All right, paint this all in black. I'm not using a lot of brushes. This painting doesn't take a lot of brushes. I think we're going to be able to do it with just two. Painting this all in. You could switch brushes if you wanted to here. Trying to get all the blue, and you're like, but you're covering all that beautiful blue. But trust me, paint likes to stick to paint, and this made your painting experience easier. Remember, exact materials I used, exact, are in the description, but you can use what you have. All right. Once that's in, let's get the other side in. Just making sure I'm good. It's a nice little craggy rock. There we go, just making sure I haven't lost that line. And around here too, I don't want to lose these rock lines because I got to come back and put them back in. So I'm just going to keep track of where they are. Paint all that in black. Now I have just enough information here to remember where I put in those first lines. And that's really about your guys' experience painting at home, so you can get the picture too. All right, let's put some little interesting grasses a couple of locations, right? So for sure, I would see some grasses at the top of this hill. Grass, grass, grass. Just soft pressure marks. If my brush starts getting too glomped up, I like to roll off extra paint. Just come over here, just very soft. Little bits of... I'm not going to come down pretty much past here because I want this little passage right there where it opens up. All right. Putting things where I'm happy. Maybe there's a little bit right here. Very nice. All right. So when you're happy with that, okay, you can rinse, 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 rinse out your brush. Rinse it out. And then we're going to get to do the really cool knife effect. And knives are really easy to use. It's sort of an interesting thing. And you're going to really enjoy the process of letting go and let the paint build the rock for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a smidge of black, just a smidge, and a bunch of white, like this. And I want them to be marbly. See how that's just marbly? Isn't that fun? You see that here? And it's loaded on, this is the right side of the stroke because I'm going to be coming down a little bit to the left and to the right. So let's stroke. Let's make a little rock. Oh, it's so interesting. I'm just touching the edge and the tip of the blade to this. You could just do this with a brush. Look at that rock happening. Look at that rock. Rocks are happening. That's all it's going to take. Right over where you had the funny lines. They'll just vanish away. If you're having trouble getting the paint to offload, you just press this down and re-scrape it on the edge. That's called a bead. See that bead? You can paint at the tip of this, right? And you can paint at the edge of this. So see how that does it? And so now you understand what I'm saying. You could probably use a loyalty card. And like I said, I have a friend who does. Look at that nice little rock that's happened there. You can even see there's some rock happening right here. That little bit of rock. Let's get some more rock. Rock, rock, rock. And maybe a smidge. This is one where you don't want to get too much black or you won't get the right marbling, right? So I'm going to come over here. And I think I'll just come to this rock. Work the tip there. Maybe press over. Look at that. Fun stuff. Okay. Pretty exciting if you've never done it before. I'm going to build up this rock. See, I'm just following along. And I'm just letting this skip along the blade. Whoa! To build the texture. Now one thing that I can do is I can turn the canvas if I need a better angle on what I'm painting. And just, look at that. Just let that rock happen. That's how that rock happens. I can come here if I want to add a little bit of rock feeling. Can add a smidge there. You can even come right here and say, there's the inside of that. And that's a lot of rock. If you've never painted it before, you've now made a really effective stone texture. Isn't that exciting? All right, rinse that out. Let's get our Q-tips and start painting in our tree. So I'm going to need some more white to do this. And I don't really want any black in it. I could either put out a new area of paint, or I can just put it over here and be very careful and try not to get any black in that. And I'm going to get one of my mid-sized bunches. This is about 5 Q-tips. I'm going to make sure the heads are all ready to pounce. I'm going to put them together in my little cluster. I'm going to get my darkest color, which is my magenta. And I'm going to start tapping in my tree. Right? This is a really, really fun way to paint trees. And all of this is a fun way to paint a painting. All right. Here we go. Just painting that in. Just painting this fun painting in. It's interesting to make these leaves have very specific shapes, and this is almost like a bonsai tree. I think it's fun to look at trees and see what it's like when they have character. Now my first layer of paint, pay attention because you might not know this is happening to me too because you're busy painting. My paint is transparent. It's supposed to be. Magenta is usually transparent, which means there's a lot of pigment in there, but it's also kind of glazy. And so you can see the color underneath. So see how it's making a purple for me? I'm not mixing a purple. Let's just do that. And it lets my branches sort of faintly show if I want them to, which I do. So that worked out. Okay. Just pounce, 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 pounce. Now I'm using cotton buds here. I'm using Q-tips. But I'm using Q-tip brand Q-tips because I find they get less hairy on me. And that's just a thing that I noticed about that product. But you can use whichever ones you want. All right. Now I'm going to imagine that there's sunlight coming down here. And I'm going to put some white on the same cluster. Now you'll notice I have so many clusters here. This would be if this was getting really hairy and I wasn't having fun, I would just grab another one. That is the easiest way to deal with having a cluster that's giving you trouble. All right. Just tapping down on the top of this branch, a little highlight. And that highlight, you know, can come out to the tip. I'm going to just very carefully put that out there, letting the tree have highlights and shadows, right? Tap, 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 tap. Light pressure, tapping it out, tapping it out. The pink, pink, pink. Pink, 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 pink. Maybe there's a little puff that happens right here in the tree where it's catching the top of these. And you can kind of see how sunlight is naturally happening. I'm thinking about putting it at the top of my branches, but also the way the paint is mixing is creating the effect or look of highlights and lowlights. Makes it a lot easier for me to paint this. So fun to paint this. Lots of light up there because we know. Sun's up there, right? And then I'm going to come right here. Let's make a little puff over here, kind of puffing up, puffing down. Right here, and that creates a branch area here. And you can see I'm getting a little bit of hair, but I'm still all right. So I'm not going to worry about it too much. Right. If you feel like you need a highlight, just come back with pure white. Okay. Anywhere you want to put that. Anywhere you want to say that is. Just bring it back. Bring it back. Bring it back. There we go. Talking about these little areas. There we go. When you're happy, I think it's a good time to switch. And I'm going to get a smaller cluster and I'm going to get my bright pink. You just find whatever bright pink you can. You're just looking for a really bright pink. I'm going to add a little white to it. I'm going to add little pops of pink into my tree. I want it to be the pinkest tree ever. The whole point of this cherry blossom tree is it's just better. Wonderful. You could use any colors you liked here if pink wasn't your favorite color. It's your tree. All right. You're just taking this to where it makes you happy. Just a little bit here and there. Now, I'm not overworking, I'm not over dabbing. I'm just adding little pops, little bits of color where I feel like it will help it and make it feel very cohesive and whole. It's a good time to look at your tree and make sure that it's looking vibrant and colorful and how you want it to be. Right? Just something fun that you like. Now check this out and make sure you have nice highlights. I'm going to switch over, flip over my Q-tips to my white. Grab a little more pink in there and just make sure I have some very bright, bright colors so that I have some branches that are super, super airy and light and bright. Just right at the tops, making those shapes, talking about those things, right? Maybe a little bit up here, following that along. You just look at your trees and go, what does it need? And then you give it to it. All right. A little more cherry tree over here to the right. Right here, maybe a little highlight. Then we get to put in grass and finish the falls, and we are done with this gorgeous piece. So colorful and cheerful. Look at that. Isn't that colorful and cheerful? I like it. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I might have to put a little white because this is so pink and crazy. And I'll need a little bit of pure white. Not a lot, but a little bit. Okay, there we go. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get that detail brush that I've been painting with. Let's get it wet. Let's put it in some of our magenta and a little white. So that will help with that coverage. And then right here where I had some grass, I'm going to add a little color of the pink. Look at this, very light brush strokes, right? Maybe a little bit right here. Just along the top of that stone. Oh, right under here. Definitely all under my tree. If it's crawling at my brush too much, I roll it off. I come back and reload just the edge of it. And you can see that it creates layers. You can just enjoy playing with that pink space, right? Let's come here and on the top of this rock, you need a little white in your magenta. Go ahead and grab that. Look at that go. Oh, that's nice. Just wherever you need it, I'm just putting it around places, making sure that my grass is blowing to the right or my grass is blowing to the left. Super fun stuff. You know, there could be a little bit here. Make sure that there's different lengths and that there's layers. Right? Layers are important things. And I want to put like a big clump of grass like right here in this open space. So I'm just doing these big, happy brush strokes. Look at that. Just a nice little happy bit of brush strokes. Just enjoying that space. That's all I have to do. You can get a little of your white in there. And I find it's even fun to get a little bit of that bright pink. Just put it a few places too. Not a lot, just a little of this color. Because a little of this goes a long way. Tells a lot of story, doesn't it? And then maybe on this little bit of a cluster, put it right here. All right. When that is all done, I'm going to rinse this brush out. Rinse this out. Right? And I'm going to get a very small square brush. So this right here is called a Bright Brights or square short filament brushes. And I'm going to get a little of my white just right on the edge of this is like a bead. And I'm going to come down from my fall and do the highlight of the water. And then I'm going to come right across the top here as level as I can and add just See just a little highlight so that the blue's showing through underneath. Top of the fall. Look at that. So I'm letting a lot of the blue show. And you can even put a little bit of splash if there's splash. So, you know, you can do that. There we go. Just. All right. Now, last thing. If you've still got your palette knife, check your rocks, make sure they have good value. You can take the last of your white and just the smidgiest smidge of your black. You don't want very much. And then add one last little, a couple of places. Look at that. Just so that there's one little area that maybe feels gets a little more in the light. There you go. Just shaping that out. Put that one in light too. That way you're also making sure that your white paint is okay. I hope you're kind of blown away what you could do with just a few simple tools. This was a really fun cherry tree to share with you. I enjoyed my time. I hope you enjoyed your art time too. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and I want to see you at the easel really soon. Bye-bye!